Hey guys, Corey with Camel Adventure Products. I wanted to do the install video today for the 6-liter auxiliary fuel tank for the KTM 1050, 1190, and 1290 adventure motorcycles. The bike we have here is already stripped down, the tank is off, fairings are off, to the same point that you would if you were going to do air filter maintenance. You can watch our other video on how to get to this point if you're not familiar with that already. The install is very straightforward, should take you about an hour to do at a leisurely pace. That will adjust up and down depending on which brand of panniers you have. This one, we'll just do this video with no panniers so you get the basic idea, and you can follow the instruction manual that is on our website for the rest of the details. Alright, so the components that you see here are what is included with the kit when you get it. On the right hand side of the table are the necessary tools. If you have a bike that doesn't have a charcoal canister, you don't need to drill anything. There's a drilling template that's included. Again, if you're not on a North American bike or you have the charcoal canister removed, the template and the drill can be taken off the table. In the kits we have the front bracket, we have an upper bracket, and the rear bracket. And they're just going to go in the back of the tank here. A lot of these fasteners, I strongly recommend the use of medium strength thread lock. These are M6 bolts in here that hold all these brackets on. They definitely need medium strength. Don't use the permanent strength. If you do have to take the brackets off, you'll spin the inserts inside the tank. And before we get started here, just going to prep the tank. On the front there's an ORB fitting, and that's the fuel delivery. We have the ORB fitting here, a stainless steel backing washer, and then a nitrile sealing washer. So you're just going to put the stainless washer over top. There's a bevel in here, and you may not be able to see it real clear on the camera, but you will in person. And that just it goes over top of the O-ring on the ORB fitting. Put that on and push that guy down, and that's just going to thread in here. And when you tighten this down, it's a 14 mil, just make sure that the O-ring in the fitting here doesn't get kind of spit out the side. Make sure that it's going in nice and smooth, and we're going to tighten until we get about a 1/16 of an inch sticking out on the NBR washer on the back. So that's about as tight as it needs to be there. It does need to be even around here, but just snug enough that it's not going to rattle out. And at this point, we can put on the top bracket and the front bracket onto the tank. And again, with the blue Loctite, and we're going to use the M6x10 button head bolts. And the tank we're using today is a pre-production version. We made a slight change to the brackets and the inserts. So in the production tanks, there'll be 2 more inserts here. So this one will be held on with 4. We've only got 2 in the video here today. And again, just snug these up, not too tight. Tight enough they're not going to go anywhere. Alright, at this time we're not going to put the rear bracket on. We'll save that. There's some minor adjustments that need to happen, and we'll do that when it's on the bike. But it actually goes back here, and it's got some slots so it's adjustable that way, and we also have some slots here. Alright, first thing we need to do, I'm going to take off the factory pannier mounts. There is Loctite on most of these fasteners. Bolt holes that we're reusing, I strongly suggest running an M8 tap through them to clean them out before you put the Camel Tank fasteners in. So we've got the tank here. We already put the front and top bracket on. We're going to be working with the top rearmost mounting hole into the subframe and the bottom foremost hole. And you're going to want to clean these out with the M8 tab just to get the rest of the original thread locking compound out. For the top bolt we're going to need, or the top mount, we're going to need an M25 hex head and the horseshoe shim. And we're just going to do this loose. It doesn't even, this one is nowhere near tight, which is fine. It's just hanging on its own weight. And then we're going to go to the front here. Now this is one spot that, depending on the pannier rack system you have, this is going to change. For the purpose of this video, just as a general guideline, we're going to do it for a bike that has no panniers on it whatsoever. So the bolt is actually going to come in from the back side. And just in the front slot here, we're going to put the M8 by 35 and then the 12 mil spacer up into the bottom hole here. And again, this one can get really really gummy with thread lock. So again, you're going to want to clean that out. And again, make sure you put Loctite on this. They can rattle loose if you don't. And this one we can tighten right up. And now on the top one here, we have this horseshoe shim, and it goes in behind here. And the purpose of it is just to keep the spacing on all the different setups and all the different bikes the same. This bracket, some of the pannier racks like the TourTech, the flat bracket comes in from this side, and this actually goes over top of it. So we've built that bracket to work with that. Other pannier systems stack on top. So we're going to put this M3 spacer in there, and we put a little nub on it so that you can get your fingers on it and hold it. You don't have to worry about dropping it in. I'm going to snug that guy up there. In order to install the last bracket on the back of the bike here, it's the lateral support for the tank. We need to take the M6x45 bolts, or nylock nuts, and the flat washers. And they're going to go, the bolts are going to go through the two left-hand license plate holes. Now if you have a pannier system that has a license plate bracket, you're just going to put these through the same as you normally would. We're not doing this video with the different pannier systems, but we're just going to put the 45s through. And normally your license plate's on here and whatever bracket that holds your license plate on, but just make sure that goes on first, and then you can put these 45s through. And we have two spacers. There's the 19 mil and the 26 mil. I'm going to put the 26 mil on the bottom. The 19 is going to go on the top. It's a little bit difficult to hold everything at the same time, so we'll just do them one at a time. The bracket, this is the orientation for it. Just stick it on there. And we have a flat washer and a nylock nut. And the nylock. So you can leave those loose for now. We're going to take the M6 button heads here. Again, put Loctite on them. And then we're going to put them in the brass inserts in the tank. And you can just leave these loose for now. And then an M8 wrench on the back side and your M10 socket. And again, you don't need to over tighten these, they just need to be snug. Finish tightening these. And the bracket is very firmly mounted here. And we're all complete. Before you start the install, I recommend putting the cap on just to make sure you don't get any bits and pieces in the tank when you're doing any of this. At this point, the instructions are going to change a little bit depending on whether you've got a charcoal canister or not. If you are in a country that doesn't have charcoal canisters, so you're outside of North America, we just got the MX style vent here and a spring-loaded hose clamp. So you're just going to put the hose clamp on and slide it over, and you're done. And then we can start doing the fuel supply line. If you do have a charcoal canister and you are keeping that, then there's a couple more steps that we need to do here. The first thing, we're going to take off the cargo plate. On the inside here on both sides, There are small screws. They're actually already out on this bike. There's one on each side. You don't want to take those out, and that will let you take this rear cover plate off. And this one is already drilled for the vent line, but we've got a drilling template that will come with the kit. And you're just going to cut this out with scissors, and you actually lay that over top here and line up these holes, and that gives you the location to drill that hole. So you're going to drill that. A unibit works best. It's nice because it automatically radiuses the hole. You don't have any sharp edges. You can pop the charcoal canister out of its cradle, and the hose that we're concerned with is the one that comes into the middle, and just pop that off. And in the kit there's a section of clear hose here. So the ID of this hose is a little bit smaller actually than the OD of the barb, plus we have the bump here. The best way to get that on, just going to give it a shot of silicone or WD-40 or anything like that. Soapy water even works. And this can be a little bit of a pain to get on. It doesn't require a clamp or anything because it is so tight going on. And then we're going to pop this back into the cradle. There's a notch here that fits down here. All right, so we're going to clip the canister back in. If this comes up and around from the underside here, it fits best. I'm going to go through the hole that you just drilled and then put this cover back on. Do the 2 screws here from the underside, the small Torx bits, grab rails and cover plate back on. Now that we're putting the cargo plate back on, this is a good time if you have our optional tethered fuel cap. The best place to put the tether is on the left-hand side rear. Just going to loop that around the post there before you tighten up the cargo plate, and then you get the tether like that, nice and short, in a good spot. So if you are using a charcoal canister, you're not going to have the MX filter on here. We will put the clear hose with that same hose clamp. Alright, so at this point we're going to run the fuel supply line. It's 1/4 inch abrasion resistant hose, so it's got a textile coating on it, so if it's rubbing across something with the vibration of your bike, it's not wearing through the hose itself. It's also UV resistant. So we're going to start at the back of the tank here. That dictates our length, so we don't have to worry about having enough at either end. On this end we have a screw style hose clamp. I'm going to put that on, slide that over the hose barb. And then from there, we're actually going to go up the spacer that we used in the front bracket between the subframe. We're going to go up and over that, and then through just right by the seat latch here. You can pull the hose through. I'm going to make sure that it's not too tight in here. You want a little bit of room to work with. And there's 2 Torx bits here that are body bolts. We're going to take those out. That gives us access to this part of the subframe. So just spin these guys out here. And just so they're easy to spot on the video for locating, I'm going to use blue zip ties, just so when you look at it you'll get a good idea of where they're going. So this body panel here, you don't need to move it out too far. I'm going to put 2 zip ties down here. You can push that fuel line all the way up there and then tighten up that zip tie. I'm not going to clip them right now, again, just so they're a little more visible. And this section here on the main frame, I'm going to come under that and come behind this oval shaped one here. And we've got some aftermarket wiring on the bike here that runs front to back. It's a little bit in the way. Your bike won't have that. I can go behind this next bit too. And behind that one. And we'll just leave that loose for now. I'm going to put some more zip ties in here. Just ahead of the rear upper shock bolt. Put a zip tie. Just a couple of notes here when you're running this line. You definitely need to make sure that it's on the inside of this lower frame rail. When you put the tank on here, it sits tight here, so even if the hose is sitting here, when you drop the tank on, it can get pulled down and pinched, and then you won't be transferring fuel. You also have a vacuum lock in the main tank and will stall the bike, which is obviously a problem. So from here, we're actually coming underneath the wire here, underneath the left-hand fuel duct or air intake duct, and the frame. There's actually two different heights on the frame here with the support bar. We're gonna come underneath, just underneath that support bar here, and on the right-hand side of the bike, you have your brake lines, your front brake lines, and you can just see them down here. I'm gonna make sure that we've got this hose above there. When you come to this end, you should be about at the top of the triple clamp, and then you know the hose length is proper. I'm going to add the two-ended barb here, and it's going to splice together the fuel lines to the vent line. It's going to go on the fuel line that we just ran. It is a tight fit, so again, if you have WD-40 or silicone spray, you can just give it a quick shot. This is easiest to do now before we put the main tank on. You just don't have the same amount of room to work with the main tank. And again, you don't need a clamp on here. It's a tight enough seal for our purposes. That's all you need to do, and we'll just leave that there. And again, this is the regular vent hose that goes charcoal canister. We're just going to pull that out of the way. If you have a bike that doesn't have a charcoal canister, it just has a vent line, this hose may actually be on the left-hand side with the overfill hose. So if that happens, you just need to figure out which one is which. The easiest way to do is to have a look at where they attach by the filler cap. And we're going to put the main tank back on here, and then I can show you that. And we can cut out that last bit. On the left-hand side of the tank, I've got a fitting here. This is actually the overfill tank. When you have this flipped open and you're filling it and you spill gas, it drains out through this hose down to the ground. And then this is the hose that goes to the charcoal canister. Now, some of the newer bikes, there's a 90-degree hose in here, and I believe the 13s and 14s came just as it sits. You need to have a real good look at that to make sure that it's not kinked. If it's kinked, you're going to have an issue. What I find works pretty good is if you get it set to a good spot where it's not kinked, you can put a piece of duct tape across here to hold it. We do need a piece of this hose. The fuel line that we have, the abrasion resistant stuff, is too thick to fit through here and get the cover on. You can do it. The biggest issue is the fuel sending wires. The location that they snap them in there. If we try and put the thicker hose in here, it rubs on those wires. So over some bouncy miles, you're going to lose your fuel gauge. So we don't want to do that. We're just going to take this hose and we're going to snip it down. Basically, as far as you can reach down, just give it a clip there, and we're going to attach it onto the barb that we put on the armored line. Same thing, just give it a shot of silicone. Makes life so much easier. And slide it on. Again, there's no need for a clamp on that one. It fits tight enough. And try and get a zip tie down here. There's the upper and lower on the frame, and then there's the diagonal support bar. And you just get the zip tie around that support bar. Is a little bit of a pain, but it's a good idea to get it in there. And then you can clip that guy off. And when I run these, I don't like the location stock, again, just for the wires. What I like to do, I'm going to take that sending unit out, put the wire in, and then put the connector back in, and you can actually run the hose underneath the connector body. Got a spring hose clamp here. We're going to put on the end of the hose. Be careful, these guys, I recommend wearing safety glasses. They can fly across the garage, and if you take it in the eye, you're going to have an issue. Yeah, slide that over. If you have a motorcycle that is a non-charcoal canister bike, this vent hose actually wraps around, goes in this track here, and follows this overflow line down just above the oil fill fitting. And it will be one of these here. I've got a yellow zip tie on this one. This is the overflow fitting. And then I've got a yellow zip tie at the top of it just for hose routing, so I know which one's which. The black one here goes up to the purge solenoid for the charcoal canister. Of course, if you don't have a charcoal canister bike, this one will be the vent line off the top, and that's that. Alright, so that wraps up our basic install for the KTM 1050, 1190, 1290 Camel Tank. If you have any questions with the install or with the product, send us an email, info@cameltank.com. We have a Facebook page as well. You can get a hold of us there, Camel Adventure Products. Adventure Rider, you can get a hold of me there if you need Camel ADV. Yeah, thanks again for your support. Appreciate it.